Very on brand person.
What about me? Am I on brand? That's good. You don't know how hard it is to go looking for a blue suit in the morning. All set to go? Hey, well listen, firstly, kia ora, good afternoon everyone. Are you all good? All sure? All cameras good? Can I just say, I hope you all had a great weekend. Got to catch some fantastic performances of our athletes in Paris. And before we do get into the announcement today, I just do want to say a few words around the Olympic team, because I think we should all be incredibly proud of what our Kiwi Olympians have achieved at what is our most successful Olympics ever. Just getting to the Games, as we all know, is a massive achievement, but to come away with 10 gold medals, 7 silver and 3 bronze is something that I think would fill all New Zealanders with great pride. And I think there was something like 45 out of the 200 athletes had actually received a medal as a team or individual performance. It's a great testament, I think, to the grit and the determination and hard work that every athlete and their team and their family has put in to make that a reality. And so to all our athletes, I just say congratulations. New Zealand is so very, very proud of you all, and I hope you go get a well-deserved break. Look, turning to our announcement today, it is great to be here with Louise Upston, our Social Development and Employment Minister, to share the next steps in our government's plan to support more people into work and also to break the shackles of benefit dependency. My government will always champion a welfare safety net to help Kiwis in genuine need. However, our strong expectation is that those who are able to work should work, and that more people who are working and the fewer who are on welfare, the better for them and their future, the better for their families, the better for the economy and the better for New Zealand. Quite simply, employment is always going to offer people and their families more independence, more choice, more opportunity and more money than welfare will. A life on welfare is not the way to maximise a young person's creativity and untapped potential, and we want so much more for our young people. So we will do everything that we can to support people off welfare and into work, and ultimately a better life for themselves and for their families. Under our government, we are making clear our expectation that those who can work should be taking all reasonable steps to find a job, and those who do not will face consequences. To be very clear, the vast majority of Kiwis on job seeker benefit are working incredibly hard to find employment and are fully meeting their obligations. And we will always back those people who say they aren't prepared to live life on welfare and are willing to put their best foot forward in search of a job and a better life. But we cannot accept people who collect a job seeker benefit but then refuse to uphold their obligations that come with that benefit to look for work. That simply isn't fair on those hard-working Kiwis who are working day in, day out, paying their taxes and ultimately providing this benefit. That just simply is not right or fair. So as part of our Welfare That Works policy, we have a two-part announcement to share with you today. The first part is about the traffic light system that will apply from today for existing obligations and sanctions. And the second part is about a suite of new initiatives and changes to benefit settings that will come into effect next year. I'll pass you over to Minister Upston to take you through the details of the announcement.
Thank you, Prime Minister. So from today, all beneficiaries who are required to be looking for or preparing for work will be categorised into green, orange or red based on how well they are complying with those obligations. If they don't complete a required activity, then they will move from green to orange, giving them 5 working days to contact MSD and either provide a good reason or recomply before moving to red and having a sanction issued. This traffic light system will make it crystal clear to beneficiaries what is required of them and notify them when they are not meeting those expectations. They can expect to be having more regular contact with MSD about what activities they need to do or what seminars they need to attend to continue receiving payments. The second part of our announcement is a package of changes that we will soon be bringing in through legislation to strengthen existing obligations and to take firmer, faster action against job seekers who aren't taking sufficient steps to find work. We'll be taking a harder line against those who repeatedly fail their obligations by extending the period where past failures count against them from 1 year to 2 years. Not wiping their slates clean after a year makes it more likely their benefits will be cancelled if they remain on them for more than 12 months. And we're introducing a couple of non-financial sanctions that will be used for the first time that some beneficiaries fail an obligation. One is money management, which will see half a person's benefit placed onto a payment card that can be only used in approved shops to buy essentials such as food and clothes. The other is community work experience, which will mean having to complete appropriate work experience for a specified length of time before the sanction is lifted. We will also be requiring those on job seeker support to reapply every 6 months to have their benefit continue. This will see MSD meet with job seekers more often to assess their needs and test their eligibility for receiving the benefit. We're also making it mandatory for new job seekers to create a profile with their work experience, qualifications and job preferences before their benefit can be granted. This will allow MSD to have earlier work conversations and connect them to job vacancies straight away. Our government is going to back job seekers who are willing and able to work with more support, more case managers and more job coaches. Our welfare system will be based on the clear expectation that those who can work should work. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Louise. As we've just heard, this announcement is all about rights and responsibilities. And it's about the welfare system supporting people and being a safety net while they look for work, not trapping them in dependency. And with that, Louise and I are happy to take any questions you may have.
The electronic income management, is that just for job seekers or is it across other benefits as well?
It will be across other benefit types as well, but the focus is job seekers. We've got an ambitious target to reduce the number of job seekers on benefit, and that's where our priority is.
For the sole parent benefit, when would that sanction be applied?
So if they have work obligations, the same will apply in terms of this regime.
So I understand that the original Act Party policy was that if a sole parent had any additional children while they were on the benefit, that's when the electronic income management would come into play. Is that the case under this policy?
That's not part of this policy. No, the focus is job seekers and obligations for them to be taking steps to find work.
So what are the other benefits then where it would apply?
So where there are work obligations, so for example, somebody on a sole parent benefit might have work obligations part-time or full-time, and there's a very, very small number on the supported living payment.
You said the vast majority of people are doing the right thing. So how big a problem is this?
Well, look, I mean, Louise can talk to it, but we've seen sanctions applied, I think, in the last quarter about to 10 or 11,000 people that have not been compliant. We've got about 196,000 people on job seeker currently. So you're talking in the order, I think, of about 5% of people is what we've observed so far. But what I just say to you is it's very simple. I mean, all we're saying is, look, we're very supportive of job seeker. The vast majority of people, as I say, are fully compliant. All we're doing is just making sure that everybody understands their obligations. It's really straightforward. You're either fully compliant, you're either sort of out of whack and you need to get into whack pretty quickly within 5 days, or alternatively you're not compliant, and that's got some serious consequences.
You said it's about rights and responsibilities.
Yeah.
By restricting how people can spend their money, isn't that actually encroaching on their rights, their freedoms?
Well, the rights are, as Kiwis, we have rights and freedoms as being New Zealanders, but we also have duties and responsibilities to each other and to the country. And in this case, you've got hard-working people who are going about their day each and every day, paying their taxes, and those taxes ultimately come through to the government to disperse through benefits like this, as we want to, and everyone in New Zealand fully appreciates and fully supports a safety net. But for the vast, for that small number of people who actually are not meeting their obligations, which is if your job is you're on a job seeker, you're deemed capable and able to work. You have obligations to actually look for work, to show up for interviews, to show up for the seminars, and make sure that you're compliant.
Someone who is trying to get a job and maybe sometimes struggles to get to women's appointments. We spoke to one person who thought this was a cruel way of going about it. What's your response to that?
Well, we have pretty clear obligations. You receive an unemployment benefit, a job seeker benefit, so that you can actually, in a difficult situation, actually be in a place that you can actually go and look for work. We expect you to show up. We do expect you to participate in job sessions and job coaching. We expect you to have a profile as a beginning part of a resume so that you can actually work for that job. So, it's all of those things as we make sure that we get we want people people to get into work. We think that's the best long-term solution and for people and their families. But equally, we expect people, if you're going to receive that benefit, you've got the responsibility to meet your obligations.
Is there any evidence of this working anywhere else in the world that you can point to?
Yeah, so we've got evidence in New Zealand, MSD's earlier reports that basically show sanctions encourage motivation for a job seeker to get out there and look for work. And what we know is that the end goal of this is fewer people on the job seeker benefit, more people in work. So they're really common sense obligations and steps that we want people to take to help themselves to find a job.
Do you have any evidence that beneficiaries, that single mums are going out there and spending their benefits on alcohol and cigarettes and gambling?
Let's be clear about the non-financial sanctions. So at the moment, the options are reduce the benefit to 50% or a cancellation. So the non-financial sanctions mean for a sole parent, for example, that might have otherwise gone to a 50% reduction, we are saying you get the same amount of benefit, just less freedoms. And I think that's a really important step to encourage people to fulfil their obligations. But it's still a consequence.
Yeah, I get that, but do you have any evidence that these single mums on benefits are going out there and spending their benefits on cigarettes and alcohol and gambling?
No, so this is not about the choice, it's about the consequence of them not fulfilling their obligations.
It's not evidence-based.
It's a consequence that is instead of a financial penalty or a reduction of a benefit of 50%. And I've heard the concerns that people have raised with me about what it might mean for a household where there are children. So we have taken a very sensible step here to say we want people to comply with their obligations. Instead of going straight to a reduction of their benefit, we're providing an alternative.
Have you had any advice about the impact that this could have on the child poverty reduction targets?
Well, as I said, this is actually an improvement because instead of going to a financial reduction, 50% less of your benefit, those households will get the same amount just on a payment card or on work experience, but we want them to comply with their work obligations.
So you have advice that it's not going to impact on the child poverty reduction targets?
It won't, because actually it will be, they get to use the full amount of their benefit, which is better than now.
And all I'd just say on that, Tova, is that also if you look at our budget that we delivered in May, the Treasury assessment is that we're lifting 17,000 kids out of child poverty, which is a good thing by function of the actions that we're taking economically.
How many people are going to be kept off the benefit as a result of this? What's the modelling?
Well, the numbers at the moment, so there's been an increase in the number of people who haven't been complying with their obligations. We want the welfare system to be far more active so that they get a job, they improve their chances of finding a job.
How many people kept off the benefit?
Well,
are you expecting? You must have some modelling.
Well, the numbers in the last quarter are about 3,000 up on a year ago. But at the end of the day, we want people to comply with their work obligations and their very common sense obligations that will help them find a job.
Your government's pushed the message of wanting to streamline bureaucracy, make it more efficient. Isn't this actually adding a layer of bureaucracy to this system?
No, because, I mean, again, we've got good investments going into Ministry of Social Development. We've actually put more support in with caseworkers to actually make sure we support young people in particular through the phone or through community-based organisations. And this is something that's able to be funded very easily from within baselines. And frankly, it's also the core job. It's actually just saying, hey, listen, we're just saying to New Zealanders, look, it's fair. It's about fairness and it's about mutual obligation and just saying, hey, listen, the vast majority of people receiving a benefit are going to be fully compliant. But actually for those that are not wanting to meet their obligations, there has to be consequences because it's just not fair on those that are actually paying for that benefit to help their fellow New Zealander. And so that's the notion, as I keep saying, about rights and responsibilities.
Can you just sort of run through what can or can't be put on this new payment card? Like what are the sort of boundaries of it?
Yeah, I'll let Lou talk to it, but remember it's not coming until we've got two things going on here. From today, we've got people understanding where they sit in the traffic light system. And then, as we say, next year, there's the introduction of the money management tool.
So there's a payment card that already exists for those on the youth payment or the youth parent payment. So it's extending that. So basically it means they would get 50% of their benefit on a payment card that's preloaded with, supermarkets and things like that, so they know what they can purchase, but it just means less choice around how their benefit is spent.
So if it's at a supermarket and you buy cigarettes and alcohol at a supermarket, will that somehow restrict?
Yeah, so it exists now. So all of those controls are in place at the moment. So no, you can't buy cigarettes, you can't buy tobacco, alcohol, etc.
Apart from the obvious alcohol and tobacco, is there any other sort of restrictions on it from what people can buy?
Yeah, so it's not loaded for every shop. So in terms of clothing, there'll be some stores that are loaded. And again, the intention of this is to ensure people get the same amount of benefit, but it is a sanction. It's a consequence of not complying with their obligations. So it does need to have an impact.
Sort of expanding it to more people, I suppose, is that going to drive up the cost for the government?
No, it's been funded within baselines, and as I said, the intention here is we want more Kiwis in work and we want fewer people on the job seeker benefit. It's about taking the steps they need to take to improve their chances of finding a job.
And become compliant again and meet your full obligations, and that sanction goes away.
Yeah.
We're looking at the ACT Party's original policy that this was modelled on, so they also have people who seek hardship assistance repeatedly. Is that going to apply?
No.
People who have committed benefit fraud or are criminally convicted?
No, so the part of the coalition agreement that is being delivered with this policy is money management as a sanction that's being applied when people fail their obligations.
But you've not accepted the ACT Party's original electronic income management policy wholesale?
No.
Correct.
Just quickly, another question, Prime Minister. The Police Association has written to you calling for Nicole McKee not to be the Minister in charge of gun reform and saying it's the Police Minister who should do it. Will you do that?
No. Nicole McKee's a gun safety expert. She's taking through a series of reforms at the moment. She's out there consulting. There's opportunities for the Police Association to join with the public and the public submissions as well. And I think she's doing a very good job of trying to communicate her changes.
You're saying as a gun lobbyist, her position's compromised?
Well, no, I'd just say to you that she balances safety incredibly well, that she's taught people how to use firearms safely. That's been a big part of her previous life before coming to politics. She's broken her gun reforms down into several stages and phases, and she's out there consulting with people and happy to take their feedback.
It's a pretty big thing for the Police Association to come out and say that, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's a pretty big thing for the Police Association to...
Well, there is opportunities for the Police Association to engage. Certainly police have been consulted, and the Police Association have got a big opportunity to talk about Part 6 of that legislation, for example.
Why not give Mark Mitchell oversight as they're requesting?
Well, again, what we've talked about is actually having police and justice having different parts of responsibilities for gun reform. It doesn't make sense that the people who are actually enforcing it are also responsible for the policy side, and that's why we want to move that to justice, and obviously have police very much focused on conforming.
The Police Association makes a good point, though, right, that these reforms are going to affect the blue line. These guys are the ones that are going to be implemented or at risk. So should Nicole McKee go as per Chris Carter's?
No. She's out there consulting on these reforms, and the Police Association and anyone for that matter is able to input into those reforms, as they should.
Is it right that a gun lobbyist is now writing gun law?
Again, I would say that she has a deep firearms background, and she has also put her, the reforms out there, and it's up for people to consult on it. And I know she's taking that incredibly serious. And so what she's consulted on is her first start, and she's open to listening to all of those submissions.
I just want a quick Olympics question.
Yes.
Given New Zealand's record-breaking performance at these Olympics, is there anything the government's planning by way of welcoming them home?
Yeah, look, I know it's actually quite difficult. I've spoken to a few of the athletes, and many of them are actually going off around the world for more competitions. Others are already here at home. So it's they don't all come back like a rugby team together. In fact, many of them are based overseas and are heading back to their home bases as well. So that may be a little difficult. There is opportunities through the course of the year. I know we've got an Olympic gala dinner towards the end of the year. That'll be a great opportunity to do so. But, again, I think, as I said, we should be incredibly proud. I think all of us have tried to manage manage the time zone and our work commitments and watch bits of the Olympics as we can through the last 2 weeks.
So no parade or anything like that at this stage?
Again, because I think it's challenging, because they just don't come back as a group, is the key reality. People have, a lot of them are now in professional sports as well and are doing a bunch of other things in other parts of the world. So I know they're not coming back as one key contingent.
When I go back to that question earlier about how many beneficiaries are likely to be kicked off the benefit as a result, so the sanctions are up 50% on
35%, yeah.
So, from the previous year. So how many are you expecting over the course of the year to be voted off the benefit?
So in the last quarter, the numbers are about 1,500 that have had a full cancellation.
Right. And where are those people going? What happens to them?
Not sure. So basically, my message is really clear. If you want to continue to receive the job seeker benefit, fulfil your obligations to look for and prepare for work.
How many of those people are sole parents?
Very, very low numbers. The numbers predominantly are on the job seeker benefit.
Right, but there are kids out there whose households rely on the benefit and no longer have any income.
Yep, so I'd say to those parents, it's pretty simple. We've got common sense rules around what you need to do to comply, and I would encourage you to take the steps you need to be compliant, and there'll be no impact, you'll be in green, and it'll be all go.
Yep.
And do all beneficiaries find out today what traffic light they're on, and can they dispute where they sit?
Yeah, so this afternoon, those who are currently on red and orange will be notified and contacted by MST, and then over coming days they'll be notified if they're at green. So the process is for those who are at orange, they've got 5 days, and so that will absolutely kick off. But if they're in orange, then they've already been in a process, they've already failed an obligation, which they will be aware of. But the traffic light system is making it much easier for people to understand where they are and what they need to do to fully comply.
Does that worry you that there's hundreds, thousands of people who are now plummeting further through the cracks and have no idea how they're surviving? Does that worry you at all?
Well,
some parents?
Yeah, as I said, it's quite simple. There are simple obligations. Have a CV, apply for jobs, turn up to MSD. There's simple common sense things to help people find a job. So all I would say is take the steps you need to take and be compliant.
How do they notify them? How are they going to be notified?
They'll be getting an email today. That's the first part of the system. And then in about 6 to 8 weeks, when they log into My MSD, they will have the colour, so they can see every time they log in to My MSD that they're compliant.
Are there enough jobs out there for all of these job seekers and sole parents with job obligations?
So just a reminder, the sanction isn't if you can't find a job. The sanction is only if you're not taking the steps to help yourself.
Prime Minister, you're getting to Australia this week. Can you sort of run through what you're going to be doing and what your sort of goals and aims are?
Yeah, look, it's our normal leader-to-leader meeting, and I'm going to Sydney where I'll be meeting with a bunch of investors, talking about investment opportunities and our economic opportunities here in New Zealand. There's also an opportunity to talk with a Louise speech, which I'll do in Sydney as well. Then shoot down to Canberra, catch up with Prime Minister Albanese and talk about a number of issues of common interest across our political spectrum as well.
How urgently is the government responding to the energy crisis?
Sorry?
How urgently is the government responding?
Oh, incredibly urgently. I mean, what we've been left with is a mess from the previous administration where, as you know, gas has been diminished in supply. That's causing huge problems or real challenges for our industrial base across New Zealand at the moment. Simeon Brown's leading some good work with the gas industry and also the broader electricity industry, looking at what we can do in the short, medium and long term to make sure that we've got energy security going forward. Okay, team, thanks so much. See you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming in.